Hello, welcome to Japan Lyric Room. In this program, we savor the lyrics of Japanese songs, exploring the meanings within the phrases and the unique Japanese cultural background behind them, all in an easy-to-understand way.
It is truly wonderful to be here. I always look forward to these sessions. It's a rare chance to really slow down and just appreciate the artistry behind the words we might otherwise just hum along to, you know?
Absolutely. We live in such a fast-paced world, so taking this time really does feel like a luxury. And today, we are turning our attention to a really special song. It's titled Darling by the band Mrs. Green Apple. And I have to say, if you follow the Japanese music charts even a little, you know this band is an absolute juggernaut right now. They're everywhere.
Oh, they are massive. But Darling really stands out, even in their catalog. This isn't just another catchy hit for the radio. It has a very specific, almost sacred origin story. It involves an event called the NHK 18 Fest, which was held in 2024.
I've seen clips of this festival, and the energy is just... it's intense. For those listening who might not be familiar with it, could you maybe set the scene for us?
It's incredibly moving. So the concept is that the national broadcaster, NHK, gathers 1,000 18-year-olds a generation right on the cusp of adulthood into a single hall.
1,000 of them.
1,000. And they perform a song with a top-tier artist. But it's not just a concert. Before the performance, these young people send in videos, messages, expressing their deepest worries, their dreams, their secrets.
So the artist isn't just writing a song for them, they're kind of writing a song from them.
Exactly. The songwriter, Matokyo Mori, took those honest feelings from 1,000 young people, mixed them with the band's own thoughts, and what came out was Darling. It's described as a soul-shaking anthem of self-acceptance and salvation. It goes way beyond a typical love song.
That context changes everything, doesn't it? It's not a songwriter just guessing what kids feel. It's a response to real emotion. Now, speaking of love songs, let's talk about the title, Darling. Usually when we hear that word, we're thinking romance.
True. And that's the first little trick this song plays on you. In the context of this lyric analysis, darling refers to something much, much broader. It can be family or friends, but most importantly, it refers to oneself.
Yourself.
Yes! It's addressing that entity that stays with you during those lonely nights when no one else is around.
That is such a lovely, if slightly heartbreaking idea, calling yourself darling. It implies a tenderness that we usually reserve for other people.
But we so rarely give it to ourselves, and that's the core struggle of the song. It depicts that wavering identity of youth wanting to be yourself, but also desperately craving recognition from the outside world.
It's that tension between I am enough and please, please tell me I'm enough.
Precisely. So, to really understand this message of salvation, we're going to walk through 7 key phrases from the lyrics. These really unlock the specific Japanese emotions that make this song so powerful.
Okay, let's start with the first one. This phrase deals with that pressure cooker environment that I think anyone with a smartphone can relate to. Social media, comparison, all of that.
Yeah.
Here is the cultural nuance of the line. I want a strength that won't lose to anyone. I want a love that belongs only to me.
There is so much happening in that one line. I mean, you have to think about the world these kids, and honestly, all of us are living in. It's the age of the highlight reel.
Right. You just scroll and scroll, and everyone is winning. Everyone's beautiful, everyone's on vacation, everyone's successful. It's a constant, silent scoreboard.
And in this lyric, there's a very Japanese concept around winning or not losing. The phrase strength that won't lose might sound aggressive to an English speaker, you know, like you want to crush the competition.
Yeah, like I want to be number one.
But that's not quite it here. In this context, not losing is more about having an unshakable confidence. It's about having a core self that doesn't just waver when the wind blows. The singer is crying out for a value that belongs only to me, something that isn't defined by those external standards.
So it's the difference between relative value and absolute value. Relative value is I have more likes than you, but absolute value is I am valuable regardless of you.
Exactly. It's a desperate cry to find a definition of worth that is, well, bulletproof. Because if your worth is based on being better than others, you're always one bad day away from being worthless.
That anxiety, it must be exhausting. And I think that exhaustion leads us right into the emotional landscape of the next phrase. We move from that active desire for strength into a feeling of deep helplessness.
It really does. The energy just drops out of the room. We go from I want strength to looking at the reality of the situation.
Which brings us to phrase number 2. The imagery here gets darker and much more vast because the sea of these Yarusenai days is so very deep.
Here we have a really crucial Japanese keyword from the lyrics, Yarusenai.
It's one of those words that's so hard to translate with just one English word, isn't it? Yarusenai. It sounds soft, but the meaning is so heavy.
It's very difficult to capture. It describes a uniquely Japanese emotion. It's a feeling of being helpless, wretched, miserable, but with the specific nuance that this sadness can't be cleared away, it can't be resolved, there's no outlet for it.
So it's not just, I'm sad because something bad happened, which has a fix.
Right, it's more atmospheric. It's that feeling when you just don't know what to do with your emotions. It's just there, like a fog you can't wave away.
And the songwriter pairs this abstract feeling with such a physical metaphor.
Yeah.
The deep sea.
Yes. And by comparing these Yarusenai feelings to a deep ocean, the lyric is emphasizing the pressure and the silence. When you're deep underwater, you can't hear the world above, you are completely isolated, and you can't just swim up easily.
It paints this vivid picture of being submerged. The deeper you go, the darker it gets. And it highlights that desire to be rescued because the gravity of that water is just too heavy to fight alone.
And when you feel that overwhelmed, what's the natural human reaction? You retreat. You try to protect yourself.
Which brings us to the visual in the third phrase. This one hit me hard because it's so domestic. It's such a small, private image compared to the vast sea we were just in. Curling up my body, making myself small inside the futon.
The futon. In Japanese lyrics and literature, that image of curling up in a futon is iconic.
For our listeners who might just think of it as going to bed, can you explain the emotional weight of the futon here?
It's so much more than sleep. It symbolizes defense. When you pull those heavy covers over your head, you are literally creating a barrier between yourself and the outside world.
It's the only place where the rules of society don't apply.
Exactly. The world is too loud, too harsh. So you retreat to the 1 square meter where you are safe. But the lyric specifically says, making myself small.
That part really gets to me. It's like you're trying to occupy as little space as possible, like you're apologizing for existing.
It's a visual representation of bearing pain alone. The lyrics are showing us someone who can't show weakness to others, so they wait until they are under the covers to curl up tight. It's a very intimate, private moment of suffering.
But there's a paradox there, isn't there? The futon is safe, but it's also a trap. You're safe, but you're also completely alone with your thoughts.
And that's when the noise in your head gets louder. You start thinking about who you are, and more painfully, who you failed to be.
That leads us directly to phrase number 4. This is where that internal conflict really sharpens. I wanted to be the me that belonged to someone, to be needed by someone.
We are looking at the struggle between the self and others here.
It's a tug of war. On one hand, you want to be independent, that strength that won't lose. But on the other, you have this primal human need to be useful, to be needed by someone.
Yes, that desperate need for approval. But I want you to look closely at the grammar here. It's subtle, but it's devastating. The lyrics use the past tense. I wanted to be.
Oh, that is interesting. Not I want to be, but I wanted to be.
That past tense suggests regret. It points to a gap between the ideal version of themselves, the one who is useful and beloved, and the reality of who they feel they are right now.
It sounds like resignation. Like, I tried to be the person who fits in, and I failed.
Exactly. It sharpens the focus on that identity and stability. I tried to be that person, and I couldn't. And now, lying in that futon, they're mourning the version of themselves that never happened.
That is heartbreaking. It's that realization that maybe you just failed to connect, and now you're stuck in limbo. You aren't moving forward, you aren't moving back.
You're just burning slowly without any flame.
Which is the perfect setup for phrase number 5. The lyrics describe the nature of this passing time, smoldering in the time that continues endlessly.
The key word here is the verb translated as smoldering in Japanese, kusuburu.
Kusuburu. It almost sounds like what it is, like a fire that's hissing and smoking but not really catching.
That's the image. A fire made with damp wood. It isn't burning brightly with energy. It's just smoking. It's incomplete. Metaphorically, this refers to a state of dissatisfaction or hesitation where you just can't take decisive action.
That is such a precise description of a certain kind of anxiety. You feel like you have all this potential, but you're just sitting there choking on the smoke.
And the lyrics say this time continues endlessly. When you're young or when you're depressed, time distorts. A bad week feels like a bad decade. You're just stuck, marking time, smoldering.
And when you're in that state, people often try to comfort you. They mean well. They say things like, don't worry, everyone feels like that.
Right, you're not alone. It's the standard advice.
But this song actually pushes back against that.
Yeah.
And that brings us to phrase number 6. It's not like the Wadakamari in my heart gets any easier, just because everyone is the same.
This is a fascinating cultural insight, and it's quite a brave statement in Japan. First, let's define Wadakamari.
Sounds like a tangle. Or not.
That's a great way to visualize it. Wadakamari refers to ill feelings, grudges, or these opaque emotions that have accumulated in your heart. It's like emotional sediment that won't walk away.
And the lyrics say this not. Doesn't disappear just because everyone is the same.
Right. Japan has a strong collectivist tendency, so a common way to comfort people is to say, everyone is going through the same thing. It's meant to create harmony, reduce that sense of isolation.
We're all in this together mentality. It's supposed to be soothing.
Theoretically, yes, but this song offers a rebuttal. It's saying, okay, maybe everyone else is suffering too, but that doesn't make my suffering hurt any less.
That is so validating. It's like saying, just because my neighbor has a broken leg doesn't mean my broken leg stops hurting.
Exactly. The peer pressure to feel better because everyone is the same doesn't heal the individual Wadakamari. The song highlights that your specific individual suffering can't just be swept away by group consensus. Your pain is yours.
That is a powerful distinction. It validates your pain without dismissing the group. Now this leads us to the final phrase, number 7. And I have to say, the word choice here is startling. The pus, pain from these helpless days won't completely come out.
Yes, the word is pus, or umi in Japanese.
Pus. It's so visceral,
Yeah.
dialogical. It's gross, honestly. You just don't hear that in a shimmering pop anthem.
It is gross, and that's exactly why it's so effective. By using such a raw biological word, the songwriter is framing these emotional wounds as real physical pain. This isn't abstract sadness, this is toxic. It's poison building up inside the body.
It implies an infection, something that needs to be drained.
Yes. But look at what the lyric says. It won't completely come out.
And that's the key to the whole song, isn't it? It doesn't promise a quick fix. It doesn't say, listen to this song, smile, and the pus will vanish.
No, it's an affirmation of despair in a way. Mrs. Green Apple offers comfort not by solving the problem, but by admitting the problem exists, by admitting the pain is real and it's messy and it's difficult.
It's the difference between a doctor saying, you're fine, go home, and a doctor saying, I know this hurts, it's going to hurt for a while, but I see it.
Precisely. It validates the ugliness of the pain. It's not trying to pretty it up. And strangely, that permission to be in pain is what allows the healing to eventually begin.
When you look at all these phrases together, the deep sea, the lonely futon, the smoldering fire, the pussy, it paints such a complex but kind picture. How would you summarize the emotional impact of Darling?
To me, this song feels like a friend who comes over on your worst night. You know, the night you can't stand yourself, and instead of trying to cheer you up with empty positivity, they just sit quietly next to you on the floor.
That presence is everything, just being there.
It uses those Japanese sensibilities, the depth of the Yarusenai Sea, the Wadakamari, to depict the suffering. But the resolution isn't do your best or fight harder.
Right. It's not a pep talk. It's an embrace.
Yes. By recognizing the pain as pus, and sharing that state as smoldering, it offers this paradoxical, deep salvation. It says, you are allowed to be in pain. You are allowed to be incomplete. And that message is just incredibly liberating.
I think that's why it works even if you don't speak Japanese. It captures that loneliness of the individual that is so inherent in modern society. We're all connected, yet we all feel alone in our futons sometimes.
Wrapped in a beautiful melody and this vast kindness, it's a masterpiece of empathy.
It really is a reminder that even when we're smoldering, even when we feel like we're losing, we are still worthy of being our own darling.
Beautifully said.
Thank you so much for listening again today.
We pick up various Japanese songs and we update detailed explanations on our website. If you want to savor the lyrics more deeply, please check the website via the link in the description.
And if you like this program, please subscribe and follow our channel.
If you have any impressions or requests for songs you'd like us to cover, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time. This was Japan Lyric Room.